So we're going into the next stock round. Player 2 was left with the priority deal, so they're going to be first to act in this round. They have $581, and they wanted to start another company. The highest par price is $95 a share, which would give that player a company with that has starts with a treasury revenue of $950. They need $570 if they're going to be floating that company on their own. So they have 581. So they do have enough to do that. So they got to think about which companies they want to start. Now, 2 companies are over here, but I've mentioned the problem before is that this cannot be built because the player who owns this private that allows this to be built is over here. Now, it eventually could be built once all the 4 trains are gone and the first 5 trains purchased, then it could be built. So the green player could consider holding on to that money and investing in other companies and just having that money make more money for them at the time, and then once this opens up, then they could go, okay, now I'm going to start one of these companies, and then they can kind of work with what they have going on over here to tie into New York, which will be $100 payout. But they don't want to wait on that. So the other options are the 2 companies that are down here in the south. So this player's green's already here, and he's working this way towards Ohio, which is a large payout. So then he would have to decide if he's going to start one of these 2 companies, which one is he going to start? And this one's close to Norfolk, which gets $60. This one's close to West Virginia, which gets $80. So this one gets more. But DC is one of the higher paying cities, and if he starts this company, he can, in the next operating round, let's see, well, he would get here and here for tile lays. Because I have to think about how you would lay that city tile. If he wants to go into Norfolk, he could do it like that. So that would be fine. And then he could curve up into DC if he wanted to. So that would be operating round 1, operating round 2. Then you go into a stock round, and then 3. Here, so it's 1, 2, 3. So it's not terribly further away. If you wanted to go to this one has larger building costs because of the mountains and stuff. This one does have the water, but he can kind of get around most of it if he wants to. And another thing I wanted to mention about up here is if he started one of these things, even though this is blocked off, if he starts one of these, this tile can't be upgraded. This one can. I think I showed in a different video the tile that could go there. It could go into this tile, so he could start this one, which would allow him to get into this 00 city, but then he wouldn't ever able to go through the 00 city, because when it upgrades to still 2 companies are there, so that would maintain. It's not until the gray phase where a 3rd company can lay their token there. So he would really just be stuck in this little tiny corner. So because of that, he's going to try to start this company, and he's going to par it at $95 a share. So what would happen is that's what he would do. So this would go at 95 there, and then one of these, once it floats, this would go there, but he has enough to do it on his own, so that's going to happen. This would go to the revenue tracker, and then once it floats, he would get this. He wouldn't get this until it floats, but because he does have enough money to do it, I'm going to just put it over there for now. And that would be, so what's that, 95 times 2, so it's 190. So he puts in 200, gets $10 back. He gets the president's share of that company, and then it would go on to the next player. So this is the next player. They have $207 that they can spend. They're not going to start a company. They're just going to invest in companies. So if we look at the revenue tracker, we could see green is currently bringing in the most revenue. So how much is a green share? Well, if we look over here, There's none in the bank pool, so you have to pay the IPO price. The IPO price is $70. So if he buys a share of green, he's going to pay $70 a share. But the moment he buys a share of green, its stock value is $80. So he's going to pay $70 and instantly have something worth $80 if he buys a share of green. And so that is what he is going to do. So he will take $70. So there's 100. He's going to take 20, 30 back. And then he's going to get from the IPO a share green. Now he spent $70 and has an $80 stock value. Now it'll go to the next player. All right, this is the next player. They have $160, 75, 6, 7, $8. They don't have enough money to float a company. They could help player 2 float their company, but he's going to do what the last player did. There's green shares you could buy for $70 that are instantly worth $80, and they're paying out $21 per share. That's a great deal. So he is going to buy a share of that company. So that would be going to him. And then he would just take $70, 20, 40, 60, 65, $70, put that in the bank, and that would conclude his turn. Next is player 1. Again, they don't have enough money to float a company. Of course, what any of these companies could do, he could say, hey, you know what, I do want to float a company. This is the red person. He actually is in a bad spot. So something he could actually consider doing. And actually what I'm going to do, because I wasn't even thinking about the red company, on player 3's turn, he saw, he noticed how bad the red company was doing and how bad it was off. So he decided to sell this share of stock for $95 before he purchased his green share. So that would go to the bank pool. Red would go down a step for being sold, and he would have gotten the price he sold it for, which is $95 a share, which actually paid for the share he bought. So 60, 80, 95. Right? So we'll say he did that on his turn. So now it comes to this player over here. So he has all these shares. So he could sell up to 4 of these shares. That would put 4 of these shares in the bank pool, plus the one the other person sold in there, which would make 5 shares in the bank pool. A company can never have more than 50% of their company in the bank pool. If he does sell it, it will drop in value to 80, but it can't go any lower. So, even though you drop down for each share you sell, the stock's going to retain its $80 value. It's not going to go below that because it hits this floor here. So for $85 a share for 4 of them, 85 times, no, I wanted 85 times 4. So 85 times 4 is $340. 440, 540, 560. He has enough to float a par company at $95. So he is going to do that. He's going to dump those shares over there. And so that's going to give him $340 to spend. 1, 2, $340. So he has to decide whether he's going to buy one of these 2 companies up here, or if he is going to buy the company down here. And he's in the same predicament as the other person. So now he could buy one of these and start building it up. The other company is going to buy a 4 train. All right, so that means that's 1 train that's going to go. His new company would have to buy a 4 train. That's another train that's going to go. There are 3 other 4 trains. For $300, it is possible. He could even do that. It is possible that these shares, if 2 other companies bought the 4 trains, then at the end of the next operating round when there's the export, the 5s would become available, which would mean as soon as the 5 trains bought, this would be able to open up. And even if they aren't bought out, he's probably only looking at 4-ish operating rounds, maybe, until the 5 trains are, in operation. And he could spend that time building up this area. Of course, he can't. So he's restricted from building there, and he's restricted from building there. So this company's not that great, but he could build this one, and he could spend that time going down into here or hooking it into here, coming up into this side. So he could work over here building this up, his company, and then once he's done doing that, when this opens up, when the 5 trains are going, he can then start working to, and this would open up also, he can then start hooking over into his company over here. So he does have time to develop this area, then hook in. So he's going to do that, but he's not going to start this one because of how locked it is. So he will start the Camden, and he's going to do that at $95 a share. So this will go there. He does have enough to float it, so it's going to go below that one. And then this will eventually become his charter. That will go over there. So $95 a share. That is $190 that he owes for the president's share. There's $200. He gets $10 back, and he now has the president's share of that company, and that concludes his turn. So what is going to essentially happen? He's going to buy more shares until he floats his company. He's going to buy more shares until he floats his company. They're going to probably spend time buying out the green shares. He wouldn't buy any more green shares because he has all he can. So they're going to spend time probably buying out the green shares. So what will happen is in 2 turns, so really soon these 2 shares are going to sell out, and green is going to automatically do a jump for being sold out. If it's sold out still at the end of the round unless someone sells it. So it's going to go up to 85. So now you're paying $70 a share and it's going to be worth 85 at the end of the round. So you're making $15 for every share you buy right now. So that's what's about to happen. Okay, next to act is player 3. So he's sitting on $162. Now, the black player is the one who is over here and wanted to start a company to work with this network. So he's thinking about doing that. Now, the only company available to do that is this one, which is fine. He wouldn't mind doing that. So he would need to decide where he's going to par it at. He can par it at $95, $80, or $70 a share. He only has 162. However, he could sell the B&O share, which is worth $125 right now, which would hurt the person who has all those B&O shares. Just a little bit, but it would do it. He has these shares that he just bought. He just paid $70 for each of these shares, but they're now worth $85 a share. So that's a $30 increase on these shares because they all sold out. So it went up on the stock chart. If he sold these shares and combined it with his money, he would still have to sell some of his own shares to float the company. If he started it at $95, he would have to sell 2 black shares, which would mean his stock value would go from 95 down to 80, and then to get back up to 95, it would take 2 operating rounds. If he parred it for 80, he would only have to sell 1 share, which means it would drop down to $85, which means it's still worth more than you paid for it. And then after 1 operating round, it would be back up to where it was, and it would be at a new floor where it couldn't fall down any further. So he would have to decide. So that second option sounds pretty good. He would just have to decide if he would rather have an additional $150 in his treasury of the company and just have to spend an extra turn bumping up his stock price. So if he parred it at $80 share, that's $800. That's how much it costs for a 4 and a 3 train. Now he might want to help this company. He might want to do some train manipulation. Now this company has $400 and something. So this company could buy their own 4 train outright, sell the 3 train to the new company, so for like $1, so that this company can run on a 3 train. And then this one could buy in the 4 train for $300. This company that he starts would still be sitting on $177 or $799. When the 5 trains come out, it could buy 1 of those. what are the 6 trains? 6 or $630. So 500, so that would leave him with 299. 299 plus 100, 299, 399, 399. So just say 400, 420, 440. So between the two companies, 440, which is not enough to buy a permanent train. With an extra $150, 440 becomes 590, which is much closer to buying that. It's only $40 off. This company's going to be getting $10 of revenue each turn. I think he's going to part at the higher value. It's just going to put more money in to kind of guarantee that these companies can keep operating with, 4 and 5 trains, and one of them will definitely get a permanent train. Actually, they both can, because one can afford the 5, one will be able to afford the 6, I believe, if I do that. And then they'll be locked in for good. Yeah. All right. That's a decision he's going to make. He's going to part at $9.50. He'll end up selling 2 of his shares so he can raise the revenue to do that. So he's going to sell all of these shares into the bank pool in one fell swoop. So B&O goes in. So B&O goes down. The 2 green go in. So green will go down 2. And the 2 black go in. So the black will go down 2. And it's going to go under there. And now he's going to get all that money. All right, so this is the situation we're looking at now. Player 1 has $9. They are running 2 companies. This company just got a treasury full $950. Player 2 has $11. They have 2 companies that they're running. This one also just got a $950 cash influx. This player 3 is 20, 40, 60, 75, $77. Got 2 companies going. This one with a fresh treasury of $950. Player 4 is just running the 1 company, has 20, 30, 35, 36, 38 $38. This player who's starting this company was the last to act, which means priority deal would transfer to this player. Now, something that I looked at to see if I could do, and if it was important, was this player here has 2 B&O shares. And if they sold them, they could get, this money for it, but they could drop B&O down to $95 a share. And that would cause B&O, it was just at 125, so, it'd take a little bit of time to get back up to that. But the reason he was actually looking at that was because these companies are going to start, since turn order is based on dollar amount, if he sold the 2 shares, it would drop blue down. And he was seeing, would that allow us to operate first? And would it be important for us to operate before blue operates on the map? However, even if he sold them, blue would still be at $95. Those companies would be at $95. And what that means is, when it's tied, you go from right to left. So blue would still go first in operating order. So the player decided to hold on to their shares since they're worth $115 each in case he needs that money later. So that means the stock round would then end, like I said, with priority deal going to this player, and we would move into an operating round. So since we're going to go into operating round, we go here, we go, hey, is any company all sold out? The B&O has pool, it looks like it's sold out, but it has shares in the bank pool now, so it's not sold out. There is no pen here, but there are 2 shares out there. So there are no companies that are still sold out. So now we got to determine, are we going to go into operating round the yellow, green, or brown? We're still in the green phase. People do own green trains, but nobody owns brown ones. So that means we're going to go into this operating round. So I'm not going to play through another operating round, but I'll just go over a few things. So this company is going to need a train. This company is going to need a train. And this company over here is going to need a train as well. Now, if they wanted to, they could buy 4 trains straight from the factory. Or, if they wanted to hold out and not spend as much money on 4 trains. Once one of these 4 trains rusts, it's going to destroy all the 2 trains. So let's see. The blue player is going to be first to act. He doesn't have enough money to buy a 4 train, which means blue is going to run second, the light blue, which is this company. And when they have to run, they have to make a decision. Do I buy a 4 train into this company at the end of the round, like this? And is this the company I want to have a 4 train? Or, since this company hasn't started yet, right? It's starting down here with nothing. Do I want to buy this train, the green train, into this company and pay like $1 for it, right? So let's still, we'll exchange the 5 for 5 ones. And maybe he would do more than $1. It's just something to calculate out later, but I'm just showing for an example. So let's say he pays $1 for that train. Now, and he could buy more than 1 train also. He could buy the 4 train into this company right now, since he has the money in here, and he actually would probably want to do that. So he'd buy the 3 train into here. He would also spend $300 to buy this train into here. Of course, if he does that, then he's going to rust his own 2s. So maybe he wouldn't want to do that. Maybe what he would want to do instead is keep the 3 train here. This is probably what he would do instead, actually. So what he probably would do instead is he would, at the end of his turn, since he goes first, he would buy the 4 train into here for $300 from the bank. So this is what he would actually do. He'd do that. Then that's going to rust all the 2 trains. Meaning these are going to go away, leaving this company with a 3 train. So when it comes time for this company to run, which will be later, it still has its 3 trains, but he would have to decide, do I want this company to have the 4 trains? So after this company runs and at the end of the turn, right, because the last thing you do at the end of the turn is buy trains, he could, from this company, spend $1 and give it to this company, or however he wants to do it, and buy this train over so that his company, his pen, which is more developed, has actually another way he could do this. See, this is what you got to think about. Actually, another way he could do this is, instead of buying the 3 train over like that, so it was like this. The other option he has is, at the end of this company's turn, he buys a 2 train over here, and he also buys the 4 train. So he spends the $300 and buys the 4 train. That way it won't be without a train when the 2s rust. So he bought the 2. Well, then if he buys the 4 train, you have to really figure out, well, who do I want to have the 5 train? So if I want the pen to be able to buy the 5 train, then I would buy it for more. Or the other option is I don't do the train swapping, actually, so there is no train loss. And then what I would have to do, actually, to do this, if I want this company to have a 5 train, what I might actually have to do is this. I would probably have to buy the 2 train for $500. So I'd probably have to do this. I'd take the money for $500. $1, 2, 3, 4, $500. I would buy the 2 train. That would give this company, the pen, $500 to be able to buy the 5 train later on. Then I could still buy another train. Now that I've done that, I would buy the 3 train in for $300. $1, 2, $300. That would go out to the bank. All the 2 trains would rust. Then when the pen operates, it would just be running on its 3 train. This would run on the 4 train, and it would just be like that until the 5 trains became available. And then it would use this money to buy the 5 train when they became available. And now the pen would have a 3 train and a 5 train. Chesapeake would have a 4 train. It only had to run once without a train. which means it will be hurt less in the stock round. And now it's sitting on a 4 train. So I think that's the move. And see, that's it. I think I walked through that 4 times. I don't know if you saw every time I walked through it because I paused recording to think about it, but that kind of train shenanigans that you do, you can do it, but you really have to like play out the scenario of how that's going to play out. And so now those will sit on those trains, and it will eventually have to buy another train for this company. So, it'll probably have to withhold at some point. So it has to decide when to do that. Do they want to withhold in order to buy a 5 train, or do they want to kind of withhold at larger amounts to be able to buy a 6 train? And remember, the moment the 6 trains are bought, the diesel trains become available. So you could buy both of these at the same time if you wanted to. So figuring out how you're going to have the money to do that is just a whole nother aspect of the game. Is there anything else I want to go over? I guess I will show you this. So when he buys the 4 train, all the other 2 trains are going to rest, which means this company is just going to have the 1-3 train. This company is going to operate after this company, so they'll have to buy in a train for themselves. They won't be able to buy 2s across to transfer money or anything, so they'll just have to buy straight from the bank. Then this company will run. They'll have to buy a train from the bank to do that, and then it's going to go to red will run after that. Then the black company will run after that. Then green, then we'll go back to blue. When blue runs its second time, its 2 train will have rested, so it will only have a single 3 train. It will only have $280 plus the revenue it's gotten here out of there. So they're going to be hoping to get some money into this company so that they could buy a train. They'll probably want to buy the 4 train for $300, or they could try and wait a while and figure out how can I run on a 3 train to get enough money to buy a 5 train, which is a permanent train. But that costs $200 more. They might not be able to swing that. So they'll probably end up having to buy a 4 train at some point. So they have to figure out how to get money into the company. Now, because they have this private in here, if the 4s last long enough, having this in for 4 operating rounds will get them up to $300, which will be enough to buy a train in. So at the end of the operating round, right, you got 2 operating rounds. So at his second time on this operating round at the end, he should be able to afford to buy a 4 train. And then that will last until the Ds are purchased. So that's some breathing room for that company. As far as the board that's happening, some other things you have to decide is when the C&O starts, it's going to have to lay its home station. So you're going to have to decide, do you want the home station track to go this way, or do you want it to go this way? I think they'd probably lay it like that. This company over here is going to start. So do you want to lay the track? Actually, I think that's the only way you can lay it. Yeah, you have to lay the track like this. It's just going to put you into here. And if you come into here, your next track is a straight track, right? And doesn't he want to go that way? But what he can do is take this track and upgrade it to something like, can't do that one. He'll have to do the other one, this one. So his first lay could be the yellow. His second lay then could be the green, so that he could do this and then move up here to connect with black. And so he'll be building this way, black will be building that way, and they'll be able to meet. And then once that connection's made, then he can consider going over here, getting towards DC. Over here, this company's going to run. So this can't be upgraded, so that's not going to go there. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I can do that. Okay. So this could go there for the first lay. And then if you wanted to, you could upgrade this. I guess you could, you could upgrade this like this, and then you could use this tile for here. So you could swing into there. This will allow you to develop over in this direction. So I'll probably do something like that. And then once the first 5 train is purchased, then you'll move into building out the brown tiles. And then once the diesel train is purchased, it makes the 3 gray tiles available. And so pretty much what you start doing from now is, I mean, look, you have most of the companies are out there. There's only one company that hasn't been started. So really what you're doing is you're starting to develop your network. You're upgrading yellow tiles to green tiles to brown tiles so you could get maximum revenue. You're trying to get your stock to go up in value. You're figuring out how to stay afloat with the train situation. Is your company's going to have enough money to keep trains going? And then you'll just do that either until someone goes bankrupt or the bank runs out of money. That's pretty much how the game will end. And so you're just kind of building out that network from now, just trying to create value. And for the most part, that's just kind of how the rest of the game will play out. Different games have different things that happen, but for this one, that pretty much seems like the rest is going to just be staying afloat, network building, and trying to increase value. You can still do some things. So, as you're buying stocks in other people's companies, you can dump the stock to make them lose value. Or if you realize somebody's buying into your company and you don't want it anymore, you can, sell your stock and transfer ownership in it. I don't know how often that happens in this game. People talk about that feature of the game a lot. I don't think it happens as much as people like to talk about it, the fact that it can happen. But it depends on the type of player you're playing with. Anyway, hopefully that gives you some insight to how these games play.